Everybody, and welcome today to our Conversations from Kscope26 webinar. My name is Tim Faich. I'm Technical Solutions Director here at Dodeca Software. I've also got Tim Toe with me, who's founder and president of Dodeca. Welcome, Tim, and welcome everyone. So what's this I hear about Dodeca? What happened to Applied OLAP?
Yeah, interesting. We did a brand change, so it's interesting how we did it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just show the little thing we showed at Kscope. It's kind of fun that Tim put together here. So everybody called us Dodeca anyway. Applied OLAP is kind of an older name. Like, yeah, why not just switch the name? So our marketing people said you should change the name of the company. And really, we just adopted a trade name. So under the covers, everything is still Applied OLAP. All the contracts are the same, but we're now known as
Awesome.
Dodeca Software. So that's what we are. So it does reflect some changes in the branding and the messaging we've had as well. So I have a couple slides that talk about that real quick. So let me just show those slides. So essentially what we do, and this was after a lot of conversations with customers. A lot of customers have Excel reporting chaos, right? And I'm sure everybody out there has workbooks that look like tangled fishing line with all the formulas going everywhere. I mean, it's really pretty nasty. So we turn Excel reporting chaos into confidence for finance leaders who can't afford to get the numbers wrong, right? That's kind of what we do. So we've been working hard on this for many, many years. We're getting some new messaging out so people understand a little bit better about what we really do. So
Sure.
I did find this kind of cool graphic that kind of shows what we do too. So this kind of represents the tangled fishing line. Literally, I've seen some of these workbooks in the last month that when I look at it, I'm like, there's no way this could ever be audited. AI could never probably figure out what the hell those formulas were calculating and putting on the sheet. So it's just been that good. We kind of turn it to a much better, straighter line. We untangle all that stuff. So how do we do it?
Awesome.
Well, how we do it is really three ways. We do standardization, we do automation, we do integration. So standardization of how you operate with spreadsheets, standardize the place where spreadsheets are gathered from, the operations that happen on them. We automate all those operations as well. And we integrate data from many different data sources. So that's one use case we see a lot of these days, is people bringing in data from many different data sources directly into the spreadsheet, and we can automate that. It makes it pretty nice. All right, so let's
Awesome.
turn to our agenda.
Yeah, and I just want to share that we're going to try something a little bit different today. So if you're on the webinar and you want to ask a question, you have a couple different options. You can raise your hand and you can actually unmute I'll unmute you and you can ask the question and kind of get in a conversation with us. Or you can hit the question panel as well. I'll be monitoring that throughout the duration of the webinar. Okay?
Excellent, thanks, Tim. And typically we do these reviews of Kscope, kind of like the symposium review, but this time we decided to turn the focus a little bit to the different topics we heard. So we heard a lot of hot topics there. So I want to talk about those first. And obviously AI is going to lead that. So I want to get to that slide. And then there's a lot of technology, obviously, because Kscope is a very technical conference, right? So, and then obviously Kscope is known for fun. So we're going to talk about some of the fun things we did at Kscope as well. So we had a lot of all three of these while we were there.
Absolutely.
All right. So moving to the hot topics. So what are the hot topics we heard about? AI, obviously, Dodeca Cloud, and then our customer presentations were pretty hot as well. So let's talk about first AI and what we're doing in Dodeca with AI. But first, I want to talk a little bit generally about AI. So obviously, Oracle is continuing their journey with AI and adding more AI into EPM Cloud and every place else as well. One of the things I heard, and Tim, I'm not sure how much you've heard this as well, but I heard that customers are still a little bit slow adopting that with the Oracle model. Did you hear a lot of that?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, people don't, I think a lot of times they don't know where to get started.
Yeah, and I think people are taking this, kind of a cautious approach as well. So I know we've had some customers that said you can't use AI at all in our shop. Don't even introduce it concept. Others are begging for it, and we've had some customers say, basically, I want Dodeca just to do my job for me. So we've seen the gamut of what you can do with AI, right? And some of the things when I think about originally, these requests are made, I'm like, you're kidding me, right? There's actually things are moving so fast in the AI world that I don't think they're kidding, and we're not kidding. We're going to implement some of those. I'll talk about some of those when I get a little bit further down in the presentation. But What we have done with Dodeca is we brought in AI, and we brought in this kind of model where you bring your own AI. So Oracle furnishes the AI for EPM, right? But a lot of companies already have standards. They're already using, either ChatGPT, they're using, Copilot, whatever it happens to be. So they've got their corporate systems wired up using MCP servers and all these different types of technologies. So what we decided to do is let people tap into that, right? And so I'll talk a little bit more about that. Currently we have Copilot, ChatGPT, and I think we have one that we're working on for Anthropic at the moment. So those are the main ones we're focusing on right now. The first two are shipped. The last one will ship soon. Talk more about that in modules as well. So we've done a lot of modular work in Dodeca. So the other thing I want to talk about is AI chat, so in Dodeca. So we've implemented in the past several months an AI chat capability. So let me just kind of show you what that looks like. So I think I got to start this video running. So this is just a little, easy type of Essbase report. This actually comes from Capris, this Essbase outline. Capris is a company we're working with that started with Edward Roski. And what they do is they do MCP servers. So they have an MCP server that will talk to Essbase. They'll have an MCP server that will talk to, Cloud EPM. They're working on some other ones as well. So in this case, what we looked at with Dodeca is the idea that AI in general is kind of a garbage in, garbage out thing. So garbage in, garbage out. I intend to look up when that term was coined. It's an old term from the computer. Do you remember that, Tim? I mean, when was that?
Absolutely. I heard it when I was a kid. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that was a lot later than when I was a kid. But well, that's a different topic, right? But yeah, computing has always been kind of a garbage in, garbage out, and it's more true with AI. So one of the things we realized that we have at Dodeca is we have these standardized, curated reports that give AI a good basis for analysis. So AI has to have a lot of good context. So we're passing that context in under the covers. I don't know if you notice up here at the top, what I asked, I said, what's interesting about this income statement? I didn't have to give AI in Dodeca a lot of context about what I want to look at. It's like, here, this is the spreadsheet I want to look at. So look at the spreadsheet. Tell me what's interesting in this spreadsheet, right? So we pass the spreadsheet information all under the covers. So all the retrieval information, the retrieve ranges, all the Essbase labels, all that type of stuff. We also pass information about, what connections does this use? So which database is it hitting? And we also have other configurable prompting that you can put in as a developer. So end users don't have to know all that stuff, right? So it's really set up and just ready for them to type a question. So it makes it a lot easier, a lot more dependable as well, because consistent inputs can give you consistent output. All right. So this one is actually showing off a bit of the MCP server that Capris has. And we did architect this so that our connectors can connect to one or more MCP servers. So in this case, it's talking to Capris's MCP server that's talking to Essbase. What it's actually doing in this case is not looking just at the numbers that are on the worksheet, but it's drilling down essentially. So the MCP server has its ability to go drill down essentially into the numbers underlie this. So this is Northeast Manufacturing. If you're in the upper left of the spreadsheet, this can go underneath the covers and look at where all the different variances are and that type of thing. And it'll pretty soon spit out, an analysis of that. So it's a pretty cool capability. So the chat, by the way, we're just getting started with it. We have a lot more things we want to do with it, and I'll talk about some of those as we go further. But some of the things I'm not even showing that this chat is capable of, things like producing a nicely formatted PDF report of what you're going to see here. So you can actually have it do a PDF, dashboard essentially based on the results of AI. So this should come back here pretty quick.
We hear a lot about hallucinations where the AI is just kind of making things up. How can Dodeca maybe help with that in a chat like this?
Well, there's a two-prong answer to that question. I'm going to address one prong of that a bit later, right?
Okay.
But the first prong is making sure you get that good consistent input. So the content putting into, what you see with AI or what you're putting into feed into AI, that's a huge piece of the puzzle there. So making sure you get that consistency, get the right thing in, get it in so that, AI can understand it. I mean, I talked earlier about all the fish line type of, single fish line type of formulas we see in Excel all the time. Well, with those types of things, it's hard for AI to figure out exactly what you're looking for, right? So I saw a spreadsheet recently that had, in the final report, there was actually the numbers displayed were the results of 3 or 4 sum ifs that actually referenced other sheet. It's like,
Good luck.
how can AI figure that out? So
Yeah.
it's just not easy to do. So what we do is we standardize things and make it really easy, and it's a very auditable, first of all, for humans. But when you pass it to AI, it's a much easier thing for AI to digest as well.
Absolutely.
In any case, here we see the results, and it dug down and showed me where some of the variances were. So that's kind of what we're working on right now for AI and what we've introduced and currently shipped. So I did want to cover that. All right.
Okay.
Let's move on to the next hot topic. All right. So Dodeca Cloud. So we've had requests for a long time to deliver Dodeca with the infrastructure and that type of thing. So we decided to partner with a company, IARC Solutions. So IARC's been a partner of ours for a long time. They do a lot of infrastructure work in the Essbase world, and OCI as well. So we partnered with them to create a solution called Dodeca Cloud. We actually have 2 different versions of that. So Dodeca Cloud essentially you have your own OCI instance with Dodeca deployed, and essentially, it's like Dodeca. It's the same Dodeca basically that you would have on-prem, the same versions, but this gives you the cloud infrastructure so that you don't have to worry about maintaining or provisioning a server and that type of thing. So that's a nice thing. Inside that package, by the way, there are a lot of components. So there's obviously the compute and that type of thing for the servers themselves, but also there's a database there. So we have included Oracle's AI Lakehouse in that package. That'll be important, a bit more important. I talk about some things a bit later on in this presentation. The second part of the offering, the second offering associated with this, Dodeca Cloud Complete. And what we've done with that is we've included everything that's in Dodeca Cloud. We've added in Essbase. So you've got the compute for Essbase and that type of thing. We can size it different ways for you. So it's a really nice solution if you don't have an analytic solution today. So we can, instance it takes maybe an hour, half an hour to an hour to actually have it up and running when you start, and when you sign the contract, basically to be this fast. We have this solution out there and it's ready to go. So do you have any thoughts on Dodeca Cloud? What's your thoughts, Tim?
Well, I'm wondering, so I could see this for a new customer of Dodeca that they wouldn't want to maybe manage, if they're in an IT environment where they've kind of said, you know what, we're just doing SaaS from here on out. I could see that. But what about for existing Dodeca customers? Would this be a good solution for them, do you think?
Yeah, certainly. We have certainly customers that don't want to have to maintain their own servers. So this certainly could be that. Even on the Essbase side, we have some customers who don't have huge Essbase footprint. So Dodeca Cloud Complete might be a good opportunity for them to get out of the business of managing a server and have somebody else manage that for them.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. Move on. Anything else to say about Dodeca Cloud?
I think we're good. If anybody is interested in Dodeca Cloud, feel free to reach out to me. I can give you some more information about it, or stop by our website.
Absolutely. All right. Next thing to talk about some customer presentations. So we had a couple different opportunities, actually 3 different things with customers in presentations. So first was in the Dodeca Symposium. So we traditionally feature customers in our symposium. This year we had 3 customers who presented some of the solutions. Actually, LexisNexis had 2 different people talk, and there were 2 different focuses. So one, Josh Baker talked about some of the technical things and some of the cool things they've done in tailoring and customizing how Dodeca works. Victor Turner talked a little bit more on the strategic level. We had Kroger talk about a specific implementation they did for project planning, which was pretty interesting. They actually did a standalone presentation at Kscope as well on that same topic. And then Principal Financial talked about, their conversion of Dodeca from Essbase to EPM Cloud. So it was a big project. So, any thoughts on the Principal project?
Yeah, Principal, they're a longtime customer of ours, and if you ever talk to Angie, she will just gush about how much she loves Dodeca. And I think the reason is it gives her so much flexibility in what she does. So when they had to move from Essbase to EPM Cloud, and that wasn't a hey, what do you think? Should we do this? It was you're doing this, and you have X number of months to do it. She was able to get it done. She was able to get that project delivered on time, on budget, because of the flexibility that Dodeca gives to the principal, and it's probably for that reason alone. Otherwise, that wouldn't have happened. So it's kind of cool to hear from her. And they, speaking of different use cases other than just regular reporting, I know they have calendar apps and a whole bunch of other applications that they've built with Dodeca. So once they saw the power in the reporting, I think then it just spread like wildfire.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting about their move to EPM Cloud, we did, first of all, a lot of work on our EPM connector. So just to make sure that it would support all the things they needed to support. So it was, there was a challenge for them and for us to make that move, but it's successful. It's live now. The other thing is they rationalized what they had done. So they previously had 3,000 reports that they would run, and they ran like 170,000 times a month. With the new system, they're actually able to rationalize some of those. They're down to only 1,400 reports now. They run like around 100,000 times a month. So,
Wow.
so that's a pretty big implementation they have there.
Yeah.
All right. So there were good presentations at the symposium, and if you're a customer, next year we'd love to have you come and present at our symposium as well. Show the cool things that you guys are working on. All right, we also had a customer panel. So this year we had 5 people sitting on the customer panel. So on the left, Roger Cressy from that's ACSI, is the Association of Christian Schools International. So he's Roger used to be a consultant, by the way. We worked with him a lot, but now he's a CTO, and he has a very Oracle stack, I should say. I mean, he's got Oracle GL, EPM, Essbase, ADW, all that kind of stuff, right? So it's a pretty interesting functionality that they have, and he's put up a system pretty quickly to service their reporting and I think their budgeting needs as well. So it was interesting hearing from Rogers. Principal, we talked about Angie. There's a nice picture of Angie. As Tim mentioned, very exuberant about, is that a word? Yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah, anyway, about our products, are very, very excitable. She's a big cheerleader, and we really appreciate her efforts to help us make the product better. Our next, Victor Turner from LexisNexis. Victor really leads the department there, and he's led that that group from being just having just an HFR, financial reporting conversion project to Dodeca, to essentially making Dodeca one of the key pieces of their digital transformation globally. So he's done a really good job there with Dodeca, and the people there are very happy.
Yeah, and one thing stands out about what Victor talked about. Do you remember the reference that he made during his talk about during their last project with Dodeca and how it helped them?
Which one is it? The one where they were meeting with the CFO?
No, not that one, but he called it Dodeca the duct tape of their project. So he said, Victor is one of the most pragmatic guys that I know. I mean, if you ever have a chance to hear Victor speak, absolutely, by all means, go, because it's just this real pragmatism and understanding what it takes to deliver a project in the real world. And he knows that stuff is going to pop up all the time. And time again, Dodeca fixed it for them. It was able to smooth out all of the rough edges in the project, and that's why he called Dodeca the duct tape for that big implementation that they had, and said it wouldn't have been successful without having Dodeca. So that was pretty cool to hear.
Yeah, one of my favorite presentations that I've ever been done on Dodeca from Victor. We had a summit back during the pandemic years in Nashville, and they came and talked. He talked about the decision they made, how they came about the decision they made to buy Dodeca. So it was a very interesting thing. It's on our website, by the way. If anybody's interested in seeing that, let us know. We can point you directly to the right place. Next, we have Andrew Warren from Kroger. So Andrew, this is his first time seeing on the panel, so it was very interesting to hear what he had to say. And then Jennifer Wedewer. So Jennifer's at Transamerica. They've been a customer for quite some time now, and she's been their lead developer there. So some interesting stories that they had as well. All right. Anything else, Tim, on this one?
No, I think we're good.
Yep. Okay. Go on to tech topics. So, I know the marketing people hate me when I do these webinars, because when I'm at these conferences, I absorb the tech stuff more than the marketing stuff.
Same.
Same. It's like I'm a geek, right? So that's kind of what I think about. And I decided to talk on the tech side on the Essbase symposium first before I go into the Dodeca side. So I have some things I want to talk about in the Dedeca side that Essbase will provide for us. So let's go ahead and dive into that. So this is just a brief shot of the symposium. Ashish, Jane, and Ekram did a great job on the session this year. They had a lot of big announcements. So Essbase is really kind of undergoing a renaissance. It's getting a big boost in the Oracle eyes, yeah, at least in my opinion. Essbase has been around for a long time, right? And for a long time, it seemed like they weren't really giving Essbase any love, except they were under the cover. Essbase is the underpinnings of the Oracle Cloud GL and Oracle EPM and a bunch of other products, right? So it had to be there to be very dependable. It just wasn't very visible. Well, they're going to make it a bit more visible. So what are they doing to make it more visible? Well, the big thing is they're making it native to the Oracle database. That's huge. It's a huge, huge thing. So, well, we're speaking about Kscope. Kscope has a number of different communities. EPM is only one of the communities. The next largest community is called Apex, or Application Express. The Apex community grew natively out of, just kind of organically. It's not a product that Oracle sells, by the way. Apex is a product that's built into the database, and it's free. All you do is it uses more CPUs, so you probably buy more CPUs, right? That's what they're doing with Essbase now. So Essbase will be there. It'll be native. It's everything's in the database. There's no separate server. They have BSO models, ASO models. I know they work very hard on all the different calculation functionalities in BSO to make sure they all work. I know the people who are working on those. It was a challenge, but they made this work. It's all in the database. Everything's in the database. It's pretty cool. So what does that really mean? So, Tim, you have any thoughts, comments?
Yeah, I mean, this is what we've been, I've been using Essbase since 1998, and the whole time we've been doing workarounds to get the functionality that they're now delivering, where you don't have any lag between when your data gets loaded into your tables to when the user is seeing it in Essbase. And so that's, I mean, I spent so many, I can't even imagine how many hundreds or thousands of hours kind of working on projects to minimize that lag time, because during a during your close process, you want to get those GL numbers updated right away. And waiting an hour isn't an option. Waiting 2 hours, waiting overnight is forget it. And now it's like load the data, it's there. So, I mean, it's basically nirvana for Essbase.
Yeah, it's not just loading it into a database. So obviously, and I didn't mention this part yet, it's not part of the slide, but this is being delivered first in the Oracle AI Data Lakehouse edition. With that edition, they have some new features they put in. It's pretty cool. They are pretty cool. So it's not just access to Oracle database. So Essbase can get this data and aggregate it live to the database from Oracle, but also from things like Snowflake and Databricks and Parquet and all kinds of different things. So it's really interesting what they're able to do now with these different data sources and where your data may be sitting. Your company may standardize on Databricks. You can still build Essbase cubes off of that directly without having to move the data. I think that's a pretty cool feature. Yeah. So Essbase is very unique. So I mean, Tim and I have pretty much dedicated our life to Essbase. So we really kind of get how it's unique. It's just a different thing, and I love it. And I love the fact that we're now getting access to all these different sources, and it makes it much easier to build. The other thing that they demonstrated, which was pretty cool, and I'm not sure what your thoughts were on it, Tim, but we'll hear them here. AI assisted cube creation. So they were able in the AI Lakehouse to have it identify fact tables. Fact tables store numbers and that type of thing, and essentially they link to dimension tables. It's kind of a standard star schema type layout, right? It can identify those, and it can assist you in building the cube. It can identify columns that you may want as dimensions. It can build the hierarchies for those and instance it very, very easily.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not a cube builder. I've always worked on the front end of Essbase. So for me, it's like magic. Building Essbase cubes in general was magic to me, but this can be even more magic now. Tim, what's your thought?
Yeah. So if you're a relational database developer or admin, there's a lot of things that you can't do easily. You can't easily aggregate a whole ton of data across different hierarchies and things like that. And that's where Essbase sits. It's adding in all those aggregations and pivots and things like that that are really hard to write in SQL. They've tried to do some of it with analytic views, but if you talk to anybody that works with those, they basically just complain about them. What this is going to do is I can take my relational data now and tell it, hey, I've got these tables, create me a cube, and now I've got access to all of that functionality, all of those roll-ups, those easily pivoting dimensions around and things like that. It's like it's absolutely it's mind-blowing, I think, what you can do right now with just having a few relational tables to where you can give your users access to all of that that real-time information. I mean, it's absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's a game changer. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think what happens is going to, open up some new applications, by the way. So, and new, and back to that slide, it's going to open up new types of applications as well. So, the idea that we can have, live data coming in. I mean, you could really kind of do like a live traffic data thing and have an up-to-date aggregation of the number of cars passing over an intersection in Essbase. It'd be something that before you'd go, yeah, that's not possible, right?
Yeah, it's been a niche kind of finance. Sometimes you see it in marketing, but usually it's a finance function. But now it's like, well, I've got this data out here for whatever, my operations or who knows what, customer service. Now I can just tell the AI kind of agent to create me a cube, and I've got a cube, and now um, I could start clicking and zooming and pivoting and all those kind of great things that we love about Essbase. Really very fast. You could prototype a cube in under an hour, I'm sure, at this point.
Yeah, it's really cool. So easy, even I could do it. So, right? Oh, anyway, um, they have a new natural language query capability as well. So this is actually part of the APIs, and we'll probably implement this in Dodeca sooner rather than later. You don't even need the new versions of Essbase, but you can actually ask Essbase a question in natural language. They'll integrate this into SmartView as well, so you can type a question, and they may or may not have a button where you can put to talk to it, but I'm sure we'll put that into Dodeca, so you can actually ask a question and have it go back and query the database, which is pretty cool. This one I think is pretty big as well. It's an MCP server. So again, the MCP server, the Model Context Protocol. For those of you who don't know what that is, think of an MCP server as a middle tier between your AI and your data, right? It's a gatekeeper. Like AI can talk to it. It knows how to then go query based on your security, by the way. So it also does security filtering, the data that's in your databases, whether it's an Essbase database in this case, or there are MCP servers to go back to your relational databases, that type of thing. So you go back and see transactions, stuff like that. So we think this is a big development. There are other commercial MCP servers available for Essbase. Capra is one of those. I'm sure there's a number of differentiators, but certainly this gets you at least into the game with MCP with Essbase. So I think that's a big deal as well. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about timing. Now, obviously, it's not on the street yet, so they did a heavy safe harbor statement on this. They expect it to ship yet this summer. So in the Oracle AI Data Lakehouse. So Lakehouse is multi-cloud. So it runs on OCI, it runs on Azure as well, on AWS, Google Cloud. It's important for some of our customers. We have customers who have standardized on Azure, not OCI, the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So, they want to operate on Azure. They have that environment already up and running. So Essbase will be available natively within Oracle AI Data Lakehouse on Azure and on AWS and Google Cloud as well. All right. So as I stated, we expect it sometimes this summer. Don't know when, but we're very, very happy. I'm thrilled that they're working on it. So I think it's a huge thing. All right. Anything else on the Essbase Symposium, Tim, that you could think of?
That's I think we covered most everything. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go on to the Dodeca Symposium and then talk a little bit more on the tech side on the Dodeca Symposium and what we talked about. So things I want to talk about in here are primarily some product updates that I gave over the past year, and I want to talk about roadmap. So we'll take a few minutes to do that. So let me check the time. All right. So on security, we've done a lot of things. We've updated the infrastructure internally. We use something called Spring Boot now, and we keep updating this infrastructure. It seems like every point release now, we're actually updating that because of all the CVEs or the security risks that are coming out. People are finding AI is accelerating that, so we are keeping up with that. And basically every single point release we're doing these, and we're doing point releases now on a much faster basis. By the way, that's something I hadn't talked about. I hadn't planned to talk about, but we have now a schedule where we try to push out a point release every 6 to 8 weeks. So, and they're actually on our calendar now. So it used to be we wrote software until we thought it was ready. Now we're accelerating a bit, and we're just taking smaller cuts at it. So we used to put a lot of stuff into each build, and now we're doing much less each build. One of the big things in the server as well that has changed is this this repository-based deployment. So it used to be in the past when somebody rolled out a new server, they had to do some generation of it was called a war file to deploy on the Java server and all that stuff. It had to be digitally signed. With the repository-based deployment, that goes away. So we digitally sign a deployment tied to a CA so that your security people are happy, right? They'll download and install, not a problem at all. But it's based in the database, so it doesn't get stored in the server anymore on the server disk. It actually gets stored in the database itself. So it gets fed out from the database. So it's a much nicer deployment, much easier to do. The other thing we can do is we can give you a zip file and you can upload a new point release very easily using this. Our Dodeca Shell product has commands that let you automate this. You can run a command and update the client in the server without having to touch your server at all. All right, so this all goes in the database. We also did a lot of work on OAuth and SAML support. I'll talk a bit more about that coming up. So the security things have been a big thing for us. We've done a bunch of stuff on the desktop as well. So we used to call Dodeca the smart client. It's now called the Dodeca desktop. So we have a composite view that was put in primarily to facilitate people who are doing batch reporting. So the idea is you can take multiple different Dodeca views or Dodeca reports, as they're typically called views, by the way. You can actually generate those and accumulate those into one workbook, and it's all a pre-configured thing. So you don't have to do any type of scripting for that. There were some mappings with custom tools that were problematic for some customers, so we fixed that. And we've also come out with our first foreign language version, which is Spanish. We have had a request now for French. That'll probably be our next language. So that's something that will be in process fairly soon, we believe. Another big project internally, a lot of these things are internal, like security and modularization. A lot of these things are internal functionalities. The modularization makes it so we can ship plugins more easily. So a few slides ago, I showed a video of the AI chat pane, right? So AI chat pane used an AI connection. That was a module. It used the chat pane itself, which is a module. And it was a plugin. Essentially, when I went to use that as a developer, I said, well, I need to have this in my environment. I imported a zip file into my environment. I imported it into our repository. It then deploys the new code automatically. So a pretty cool concept. The idea for this, by the way, is that we can then deploy new features more easily, and we can update features more easily. So let's say the AI chat pane, you've deployed it and you want something new. We actually had that happen with a customer just this week. They want something new, how their AI worked a little bit different than what we were testing. We're able to generate a new version of that, send a zip file, they can import it. They have a couple of new settings that they can configure that makes this thing work much better in their environment. So that's a big idea for modularization. We'll talk a bit more about modules not coming up. All these things we're talking about, these connectors and adapters, are all modules, they're all plugins. So first of all, on the authorization side, we talked about OAuth and SAML. These are the things that implement OAuth and SAML, right? So we have support for Oracle currently, for Microsoft Entra, and for Google. Essentially, think of these as like single sign-on type things, right? Especially with Entra. If you're single sign-on with Entra and then you're logging into Dodeca, essentially it passes through the single sign-on to whatever configuration services that you need. So that's a nice one. Just in the past week, by the way, we've added a new one. we had a request for AWS. We now have AWS as an authorization provider as well, connector. All right. Any questions so far, Tim?
No, we're good.
Any other ones that you want to support? Any other ones you could think of? As we
Yeah,
get requests, we support them. So that's the idea. So
yeah, so that's really the message is we will work with you, with our customers to meet their needs. We meet you guys where you are.
right. All right. On the AI side, we have plugin for OpenAI Copilot. I mentioned we're working on I think it's Claude. I think it's the next one we're going to work on. So that's coming along. SQL connectors. So these SQL connectors are different than the SQL capability we've had in the past. In the past, all the SQL capability, which, by the way, is still supported, but the SQL capability we had previously, how it worked is it talked to the server then talked to the database, which then returned results to the server, which returned results back to the desktop. With these new connectors, what happens is we connect directly from the desktop to the database server. Why is that important? Well, there are situations where you want to do that primarily for the reasons of security, right? So Oracle and SQL Server, they support single sign-on to or integrated security to your databases, right? If you have configured properly. The best way to do that is to connect from the desktop because the desktop will pass through the security information along with that .NET provider that we have from the desktop without having to go through the server. We can't do it through the server. It's just not a thing that's available. Why is it important to be able to have that type of single sign-on? Well, single sign-on makes it much easier to manage things like row-level security in relational databases. Why would you want row-level security? Let's say you're doing a payroll planning app. Payroll planning app, you don't want everybody to see everybody else's payroll. You want to limit it based on what you have authority to see. Maybe it's just for your department that you're authorized to see. So this functionality, this new connector can provide that type of security for relational type databases. All right. Any thoughts on that, Tim? Comments?
I think it's really cool. We're going to have a lot of flexibility with how we can build views in Dodeca.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the ideas for Dodeca, right? It's about anything you want to do. Other connectors, other types of connectors, we have a REST connector as well, a series of REST connectors, I should say. So these use the REST type APIs. The one that's been most popular so far has been the Oracle EDM connector. So for EPM Cloud, you can connect to EDM and go and bring back information like viewpoints and that type of thing into a Dodeca report. So that's a pretty cool thing. We've built REST connectors for DrillBridge, which is our own product, to be able to utilize that server-based product to bring back relational data sets. Player is a third-party REST broker, so it plays in Oracle world. So with that, theoretically, we can reach out and do read-write to eBusiness Suite or to Oracle Cloud Financials. We use GitHub for our code repository and Zendesk for our support. So we actually wrote some of those. We have a few other ones as well that I didn't even list here. So there's a number of these that are in process. And it's pretty easy for us to write these, by the way. So these connectors, typical development time is a few days. So sometimes a day. So it depends on, how complex it needs to be. So, and then adapters. An adapter is a little bit different than a connector. Adapter takes a file that you've obtained. So you can use actually a connector to go to an HTTP REST connector actually to go get a Parquet file. Parquet, by the way, is a portable table format. So you can go get a Parquet file, say from AWS, maybe it's like an S3 bucket in AWS, whatever that means. I'm not tech enough to even know anything other than the keywords, all right? It's a directory out in the web someplace. You can get that downloaded, and then this adapter can then open that file and read data. So we've had customers who said, we do departmental Parquet files, so a department can get the records for their journal entries from Parquet. I'm like, okay, we can support
Very
that.
cool.
Yeah. Let's talk about the roadmap now. How much time do we have? I better hurry. Okay. Okay. We used to have this thing called the headless client on our roadmap. It's not called the Dodeca engine. So the engine is essentially a non-visual version of Dodeca that can run views and that type of thing. That's important. Originally for batch reporting is what we thought that was going to be important for. We see it now a bit differently because now we see it having a REST API. So we're going to put a REST API in for this engine and then a Dodeca MCP server. All right. So this is really the most exciting thing I think we have in our roadmap. So these 3 items. Let me talk about the idea for an MCP server. So when our developer was hooking up MCP servers in our connectors, I mean, I didn't really get the whole concept yet of how useful it could be. The light hadn't turned on for me. So he did a video where he showed a video of our connector, of our chat GPT connector talking to an MCP server. He was talking to the Capra server. But then what was interesting is he sent me this video like at 10 o'clock at night, right? I look at the video, I play it, and next he types, cool, now turn on my media room light. Pans to the right, when the light comes on, pans back left, I'm like, boom, my light came on, right?
There you go.
Wow, that's really cool. Remind me of some of the things I used to do in Excel that I thought was really good. This is like brilliant stuff, right? What it changed my mind on is this. The idea that Dodeca, and I was putting AI into Dodeca, means that it's very useful for customers, right? You can get more value out of Dodeca by having that AI chat pane there, right, Tim?
Yeah.
It can go give you results. But you might be in a browser and you might be doing some things and you have some, results coming back from AI in a browser and you look at it and go, is that a hallucination? Where does that number come from? What does it mean? What's the context of it, right? Remember, Dodeca is all about context. What if we had Dodeca MCP server out there to your AI that said, oh, by the way, if you want to confirm those numbers, click this link and run this report in Dodeca that will bring back, it'll actually go to this Dodeca engine, run a report, bring back an Excel file, open up an Excel file in your browser that shows that number, confirms the number. It's a curated, validated report, right? With known source. Validates the number, gives it other context. We think that's a really big thing. We think that's a piece that's missing with AI today. And what happens then is we're inverting the value proposition from adding value to Dodeca by putting AI in to adding value to your AI, right? Because we're validating the results of AI. We think that's a big thing. Along with that, we're going to do a bunch of other things, voice control and that kind of stuff. So these are targets a little bit further down the line. MCP server is actually being coded at the moment. We're going to do some report bursting stuff. We're going to add some new data sources and some fine-grained authorization so you can allow people to go to certain admin screens, for example, but not others. So that's something we don't support today. We will add that shortly. All right. Back to the fun topics finally. So there's a lot of fun to be had. So I just wanted to flash through some of these. So I participated, actually me right here with a hat, in the community service day, the Kathleen McCaslin community service day. Kathleen was a really good friend of mine. She was the executive director of OETUG when I joined the board. She helped our company a lot. She helped me a lot. So it's the least we can do is sponsor this event every year and go out and work. I shoveled a lot of stones this year. So I just needed that kind of release anyway. I've been preparing slides for a while. So
sure.
So an exhibit hall, a lot of cool things going on in the exhibit hall. So we had kind of a campground theme. So we have these water bottles. Actually, I've got one right here. You can't see it.
The AI got rid of it.
It disappeared. All right. Yeah. Anyway, so we had some fun stickers, and we had this campground theme. We had a moose, so we had a name for the boots. So it was a fun time at the actual exhibit hall. So we had a lot of traffic through there. It was really a good time. So a lot of great events that happened in there as well. We did have a customer dinner on Tuesday night. So a lot of great customers and prospective customers came. We had some great food, some great conversations. It's one of my favorite nights of the year at Kscope.
Absolutely.
So we get a lot of one-on-one times. So what was your favorite conversation you had there, Tim?
Well, we got to talk with the product managers for Essbase, which is always like, I mean, that's always a treat for me. So you can get into kind of the weeds on the technical side of things and talk about what's really on the roadmap, what's really up next, and kind of the reasoning behind some of that maybe they don't share during their presentation. So that's always a treat for me.
Yeah. And by the way, it was in a beautiful location too. I didn't mention that the Kscope conference was at the Gaylord Rockies in Denver. This is a beautiful shot of the restaurant. This is one of many, many nice restaurants they have there. So we had some good swag. We had some t-shirts. We have a few t-shirts left over. If anybody wants a Dodeca Campground t-shirt, let us know. All right. The Wednesday night event was at Bronco Stadium. So I didn't have as many pictures of this, but Monty here was being assaulted by the Broncos mascot. So this is Monty Latchlebo. He was a former president of OETUG, well known in our in the world, in the OD tech world. So a lot of people had fun there. And then finally the closing session. So the closing session, they've not had that in the past couple of years, really.
Yeah.
And they typically used to give awards. And so they said, oh, we're giving awards this year. So I showed up and I had no idea that I was going to win an award. I mean, I was like shocked. I won the cross community collaborator, which means, we work with both the EPM side, Essbase side. We work with relational people. We're trying to work more with application express people. So it was an honor to stand up on the stage with Elizabeth. So Elizabeth Farrell, by the way, Kroger's our customer at Kroger. She's the president of OD by the way. So it was an honor to get an award from her. So
Yeah, congratulations. I mean, it just speaks to kind of your place in the community. I mean, we met back in what 1999, working on the Network 54 Essbase forum, which was really all about giving back to the community. So it's kind of a it's not a new thing for you, for sure.
It's kind of the creed of our company, right? So we work a lot of different things, and we just try to help people. That's our thing. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
all right.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. You want to talk about your webinar next month?
Yeah, we're going to try to, I'm thinking about starting a new series, webinar series, where, I mean, AI, obviously the hot topic on everybody's mind right now. I was able to actually land a couple of whales here for my first webinar next month. So we've got Kyle Goodfriend and Peter Nitschke, who have won more awards at Kscope than you could shake a stick at. So I'm really excited to talk to these guys to kind of like maybe cut through some of the hype on what's going on with AI, where they're seeing the AI impact in EPM world right now, kind of what's next, what's coming, what's hype, what's fact, what's fiction, things like that. So really excited about that discussion, and so you could look forward to seeing some more about that next month.
Yeah, did Peter win the award for the most distant travel to Kscope?
I'm sure. I don't think you can get much further.
He travels from Australia every year into Kscope.
Yeah.
All right. And then finally, if you have spreadsheet chaos, if you have, formulas that kind of look like those fishing lines that are all tangled up, we can help you. So you can learn more at dodecasoftware.com. Send us email there, dodecasoftware.com, by the way. You'll get an answer, and we can help you figure out how much spreadsheet chaos you have and help you stop it. So, and with that, is there any questions in the queue, Tim?
I think we're all good. I think we're good.
Okay.
We're a little over time. Thanks for sticking with us, everybody, today. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Thanks, everyone.